Good morning, and welcome everyone from Squirro's newly established Singapore office. Thank you so much for joining us at this webinar this morning. AI Foresight 2021, Data-Driven Insights for Banking and Finance. My name is Vanessa. I'm the Key Account Executive at Squirro APAC. I'm very excited to be your host as you know, this is our very first webinar that we're hosting from our APAC office. Let me give you a little bit of a background story of this webinar. A challenge, which I believe many of us that they're listening in today have encountered, was brought to our attention. That is how to quickly discover insights from the huge amount of data that we encountered every day, and specifically unstructured data. We're talking about news, emails, research papers, research documents, the call reports that you have in your CRM system, etc. This challenge was taken up by the Squirro team, joining forces with our data partner Refinitiv and our implementation partner Synechron. It's been 2 years. We are presenting to you the solution today with speakers from Refinitiv and our very own Squirro team and Synechron. They're going to share their experience, including some of their implementation experience in actual clients' place. Please say hi to the audience. Andre?
Yeah, hi everyone. Hi Vanessa, thanks for having me here. So I'm Andre. I work for Refinitiv. I'm based in Singapore. I'm a solution business director. Basically, I work very closely with our key accounts, mainly in Asia. And in the last couple of years, I'd say we've collaborated a lot with Squirro on a number of projects.
Thank you, Andre. And next we have Moritz.
Hey everyone, I'm Moritz. I came in 2020 to Singapore to open our regional office here for the APAC region. And it has been a good experience so far, of course, besides the virus. Today, I'm very pleased to share here with you, together with my colleagues there, a bit of our experience of what we have already achieved at our clients and what we believe can bring essential value to your business as well.
Thank you, Moritz. And next we have Mark from Synechron.
Good. Hey, thank you, Vanessa. Hi, everyone. So my name's Mark Westgate. I lead the digital solutions and strategy practice for Synechron out here in APAC. For those who aren't aware, Synechron is a 8,000 person strong business, technology and digital consulting firm. We focus purely on financial services and have offices around about 18 markets or so. My particular role is I help support our tier 1 clients on large scale digital and data transformation initiatives, and excited to share with you today our recent success story that we've had with both Squirro and Refinitiv. So looking forward to it. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Mark. I'm happy to also announce that after the sharing of Andre, Moritz, and Mark, we will also have speakers from Standard Chartered to share with us their user experience of having such a solution live in their organization. If you have any questions during the session, please type them into the chat panel. My team and I myself will be answering them along the way. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to our very first speaker, Andre Vosaru, our data expert. Andre is the business director for Refinitiv, and he has long-standing experience in the financial services industry. Andre covers technology-led initiatives within 2 of Refinitiv's global strategic accounts, and also holds an MBA degree from INSEAD. Please, Andre, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, everyone, and glad to be on this event. So what I wanted to talk about today was the important role of data and what we see, what in Refinitiv we're seeing in the industry, especially around our clients looking into how they generate more more value and more insights out of huge amounts of data that they have today or that exist in the market. And of course, I'm not going to repeat on the number of, the huge amount of information that continues to be generated on a daily basis. So in Refinitiv, we know something about data, and so a few years back, we started looking into. So we ran a survey as to how our clients are looking at leveraging data, and especially in the artificial intelligence, machine learning applications. We have a number of, say, a good number of data assets. Some of them are structured, some of them are unstructured. And when I talk about unstructured, is, as Vanessa was saying, this is textual information, research, equity research in our case, transcripts. So how do you manage all the complexity of that? So today I wanted to talk about a survey that we ran again in 2020, and what is this showing? So first of all, just to give you an idea of how this survey has been run. So as you can see, more than 400 people that we interviewed over the phone. It's 2020. Everything. It's Zoom and phone. Key people who are very close to data analytics and data science teams, decision makers, chief data officers, so C-levels, with as you can see a very a global reach, and also both sell side, buy side, trying to make sure that we have a very unbiased result on what this survey is saying. So we've ran this in 2018, and we've run it again in 2020, and I wanted to today briefly show to you what are the differences, and how important is the topic that we're discussing in this webinar today for pretty much everyone in this industry. So I'll stop on. I'll try to make 2-3 points on what we've seen and where we see this industry going, and what are the hurdles, what are the challenges, and I think most of this points you're gonna hear them again in Moritz's and Mark's presentation to follow. So as you can see, very quickly, just a number of the sheer number of people who are working in financial institutions in positions that have something to do with data science and data analytics. This has just in a little less than 2 years, this has gone up more than 26%. The number of teams in these organizations have gone up from 2.7 in 2019 to 7.1. So definitely, this is a trend which is clear in the market, and we believe there's something that so pretty much everyone in the industry is looking at this. So pretty much everything is driven by data. The topic of today's discussion is about structured versus unstructured, and I believe I was reading some stats. I think almost 90% of the data out there is unstructured. How do you make sense of it? How do you get that? How do you find that needle in the haystack, and that with a haystack that is getting more and more gigantic every day? This is reflected in the slide that I'm showing here right now. So just between 2019 and 2020, so that's probably a bit more than a year. The unstructured data, so teams focusing. So I'm talking here is like teams focusing on specifically on unstructured data has gone from a mere 2% about a year ago to 17% now. And then if you take that in conjunction with kind of like a mixture of both, you can see that this is almost so higher than 60% of where companies are looking at today. So this is definitely being able to own that technologies and be able to control and be able to manage all that huge amount of information, especially unstructured, as I was saying, it's has become really a key topic. NLP, we'll talk about this more later with my colleagues. This is definitely the kind of the key word that resonates with all the people that we spoke about. Bringing it a bit more to what Refinitiv and what we are doing and our key assets and how they can bring value. So we, as I said, we have and we own and we distribute a huge amount of unstructured data that is there to augment the value of the information that clients will generate from their internal vault of similar data, and how do you augment the value of it by enhancing it with data coming from the market where we can help. So no wonder when you look at the data itself, what comes out very clearly, it's data quality. So the people working in those teams, they don't want to spend their time just in some cases. I believe 2 years ago, some of the data scientists, they were saying they were spending almost 80% of their time cleansing the data and editing the data before it can be used. So this is still very current. Maybe even I think, given that the teams have now they have a much better understanding and of the technology and machine learning algorithms, the quality and the availability of the data are critical to delivering those results. And having those the relevant tools and teams in place who can bring that and platforms, and this is what we're going to talk about in later with Squirro and Synechron. This is how you kind of like, this is like the different ingredients, the key ingredients that you need for a successful project. And of course, we needed, because it's 2020, we needed to have our black swan and I'm sure the others are going to refer to this. So COVID, how is this from the perspective of leveraging the data and maximizing the value and really accelerating this trend to going into I want to define those right algorithms and the right machine learning processes that will deliver value to my clients. Because of COVID, the whole processes have accelerated, and we've seen this. And clients are looking now, and of course, everyone is now saying, well, we're looking at the data. There's no, if we want to backtest our data, it's important to have this kind of I won't even say market moving events, because COVID is much more than that, right? It's probably, I mean, hopefully for us, once in a lifetime event. So we definitely, I'd say if one can look at it from a positive perspective, I would say all the financial institutions out there have definitely fast-tracked and are now very keen on moving much faster. And of course, the cloud adoption and the underlying technology that has to support all these algorithms and all this very complex and complicated projects are there. And knowing the project and having been involved in the project that my colleagues are going to talk about, I think all these were relevant in the project that we ran with our client in Singapore. So I'll wrap it up here. Just by saying this is it's definitely happening, and artificial intelligence and machine learning, and in particular NLP in financial institutions has seen a dramatic progression and acceleration with our clients. Being able to deliver those solutions with the right data and being able to shorten the process and quickly get out there and deliver value to the clients has become kind of like the norm and what our clients are expecting. With that, very happy to take questions at the end of the seminar or offline. And just to say, it was good. It was a very good experience working with these guys, and hope we can redo this for other clients. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you for sharing on this growing importance of unstructured data. Squirro being a specialist in NLP, I mean, this is definitely a trend that we are very happy to see, and we are already, taking advantage of this trend together with Refinitiv and Synechron. We will move on to the next speaker, Dr. Moritz Müller, Squirro's General Manager of Asia, Head of Product. Moritz has worked on numerous data analytics projects, and he has experienced how data analytics, data processing, and machine learning techniques can be used to solve business problems with various financial services firms all around the globe. Early this year, Moritz came to Singapore to establish our APAC office and bring data analytics solution to the APAC region. Please, Moritz.
Thank you, Vanessa. I hope you can all see my screen. Thank you for the introduction, and especially thank you, Andre, for sharing with us the data perspective that Refinitiv brings into the equation. Premium data providers are key for us. We at Squirro, we have solutions around AI, natural language processing, and all kinds of techniques that allows you to extract most out of your data in your organization. However, it's key to have these premium data provider and bring these data into your organization and match them with what is internally already existing. So let me tell you a bit about how we do this. How do we use our AI technology to bring client insights to corporate banking and to our corporate clients in general? So the big challenge that we have seen in the last years, and it's a growing challenge, and it's exactly continuing from what Andre has said, is there's too much data out there. As a banker or generally as someone working with data in a financial organization, you are faced with all kinds of different data. And this data can be data that is internally stored in your CRM system, such as core reports, could be your mailbox. All of us have an overflowing mailbox that is extremely challenging to stay on top of. It can be, on the other hand, external data, premium data sources, such as Refinitiv, for instance, with their Icon terminal, where lots of data is coming in. Or we have all kinds of other data providers. When you go out there on the web, there's so many news sources. You need to stay on top of all this data. What is happening around my client? Is there a rumor out there about a potential M&A event? What is happening in the market? So you need to stay on top of this. And it's a big challenge for a bank. Fortunately, we have some technology, and we believe that this technology can really help you to stay on top, discover opportunities faster than others, and make revenue out of this eventually. Now, what we want to show you today is a bit of the journey of how we get there and what have we achieved in the last years. Now, typically, when we look at data in organizations, you start off with solving the case of getting cognitive search first. The whole cognitive search space has developed over the last years from cognitive search being a solution to nowadays having whole insights engines that allow you to do analysis and bring you recommendations in your business context. And that is exactly the challenge that we are trying to solve here. Now we typically approach this by first connecting all kinds of data sources. The moment you do this, you enable cognitive search. It gives you an initial benefit to be able to search through all your internal and external data in a client context. The next level is you build a Client 360 dashboard, basically one view condensed of your client with all your data. You don't have to go to Bloomberg, Icon terminal and all these kind of different terminals anymore. And then at the same time, check your mailbox and your CRM system about the client data. You have one dashboard with one search bar where it sits all. Now, once you've achieved this, you bring in some business logic. You bring in business intelligence that allows you to do lead generation. You detect opportunities by understanding what's going on out there. And we have models that help you to identify those and give you recommendations to what to look at today. And let's have a quick look at what this actually looks like. We quickly saw the challenge. So the data is distributed out there. So many people that I have met in financial services tell me I'm missing opportunities because I didn't get the information at the right time. So by combining these data sources and using these AI-driven signal detection that we have developed, we get you the right insights in the right business context. And at the end of the day, of course, it does not only boost your lead generation, it also helps you to strengthen your client's relationship. And that is key to the discussion. Now, how do we achieve this? We achieve this by connecting different data sources. And you have on the one side all the external data sources. This could be news, lots of premium data providers such as Refinitiv and so on and so forth. Very often you have a license in place for this. So you already pay for this, but we allow you to make more out of it. On the other hand, you have the internal data sources. Internal data sources can be CRM data, it can be data that is in pitch books, in presentations, whatever you share with a client. It can be hidden anywhere in a mailbox and so on and so forth, like a shared mailbox, your own mailbox, all of this, your internal research, all of this can be connected and can be brought in the right client context and allows us then to do analysis on top of those data and give you the right insights that you need. And the key here is any data source that you have, the moment it has an API, we can easily connect it. Now, let's actually look at this. Let's look at the solution and what it does. We have developed a number of models there, and I'll tell you all more about it by actually looking at this. What you see on my screen is our augmented banking application. This is the solution that we have developed in-house and that we have already tested and have live at a number of our clients. Now, what you see here on the left-hand side is an overview of the sources, the external data sources that we have in this demo. At the top, you see the news. This is machine-readable news coming from Refinitiv. We have significant developments in there. We have fundamentals data in there. We have event transcripts in there. We also have added some specific RSS data feeds, for instance, from specific companies, private companies, that we would not be able to monitor otherwise. On the other side, you have all the internal data sources. For this demo, we have imitated some core reports as we've seen them, for instance, similar to our clients, and we just show some examples. All of this is, of course, made up in here. And we have connected some internal research documents that allow us to show you how this all works. So at the client, you typically start by defining the signals that you as a banker are interested in. And these can be signals about corporate activities, such as downsizing, an M&A event, and so on and so forth. It can be people changes, board changes, management changes. It can be potential risks, a risk critical category like bankruptcies, lawsuits that are going on, and so on and so forth. And it can be financial information events such as credit rating changes, profit warnings, potential rumors, and financial market models around FX hedging and so on and so forth. So once you've defined what you want to look at, let's look at all for the start here. You continue by defining which are my interested companies that I'm interested in. Typically, we read this out of the existing CRM system as we are seamlessly integrated, and you only need to validate that the setup is correct. These are your clients. Once you've done this, you're ready to go. In my case, I simply have connected some companies, some big corporates that we want to look at. So now let's actually look at the insights. What can the solution help us to identify here? So I start off by limiting this to my preferences, and I clearly see here already in the middle of the data screen that this is live, something is happening. So here, for instance, we have an event where Singapore Airlines is raising 500 million via a private placement of new bonds. Very, very tangible to my clients. As you can see here on the left-hand side, Singapore Airlines is one of my clients. Now, what else do I see? I see on the left-hand side my limited clients. And I see the respective signals that Squirro has discovered. So, for instance, I see here a regular impact on the Boeing front. What is this? Let's have a look at this. We clearly know that Boeing, being one client, challenging financial situation at the moment. Another thing, of course, that makes it even more challenging is that we read here now that Britain is, for instance, starting to apply certain tariffs on Boeing because of the ongoing trade conflict between the US and the EU. Very relevant in my client context because I need to understand what is the impact of that on my client business. Now, before we continue looking at additional events around here, let us actually start looking at recommendations, because recommendations is what we want to provide to you. The first thing we do when we come in here, we see, look, these are my clients, what's going on? What do I need to look at? And this is the guidance that we give you. Let's see, for instance, here we have Total as one of our of my clients. There is a plan to raise capital event around this. Of course, I want to know about this. I'm a corporate banker. What is going on? So when I jump to this, I see one of these event transcripts coming from Refinitiv, an extremely long text document. I have no time to read this. Absolutely no time to read this. So how does the application help you? The application points me immediately to the sentence that I need to know. Here is the sentence that states we have decided to raise the bar there and also to raise it by another 1 billion for 2023. Perfect. My client wants to raise money. I can help and I can present him with the respective product that I have announced. Now let's just look at another one. There's Royal Dutch Shell. What is going around here? So we see here an event. What is going on? We plan to invest additional money. Royal Dutch Shell plans to invest additional money in China worth 25 billion over the next years. Perfect. Another signal that I've discovered. With Shell being my client, I can go in there. I can pitch the solution and the product that I want to present there. Now, this is the way recommendations are being used. The application directly tells you what is going on in here. The key part is we cannot only do this on news, we can also do this on your internal data. So you have to condense view about this. Let's look at my client Olam International in here, for instance. If we go into the insights here, we will actually see that Olam International has just announced an acquisition of a company, Nouvelle Société Cotonnière du Togo. So this has happened. Now, I of course want to know what happened before this. If this is my client, what has been happening around this? And we clearly see that there was already a core report about this, where we have flagged this internally. So we know internally, oh, we can help them by financing this via debt facilities. So this has happened in the context around this. So all this information sits in one single dashboard, internal and external data, and allows me to explore around this. Now, what else is going on about my clients? Here, for instance, I see Capital Land being in there. Capital Land in, let's have a look about the insights here. So I see Capital Land has actually placed some green loans and raised money. Perfect. I stay informed about what is going on about my client. Now, the interesting part in here, and let me close with this, is this technology can not only be applied on English content, but with the lately released Data Science Studio that we have just brought out, we enable your data scientists to build their own models based on our NLP technology. They build their own models and highlight those concepts for your specific business context. Now, this can, as I said, not only be done for English data. We can also easily build models for other languages. For instance, for Chinese, still working on those. But let's have a quick look at this. Here's a statement. Of course, I'm not capable to speak Chinese. We would need Vanessa to help us with this. But if you look at this, it clearly works also in other languages, and we could potentially even automatically translate this if this is something that we are interested in. Now, with this, I think you have understood how it can be used. All the kind of different data sources that you can bring into the context. This being not only the news, but also all the other data sources such as research and so on and so forth. all of those, it's at your fingertips. You can filter it down in a perspective in terms of topics or in terms of timeline, whatever it is there and you know what to do today. And with that, it will be very interesting to learn more about how this is actually being used at one of our clients and how we could successfully implement that at Standard Chartered. Mark, please tell us more about this.
Yes, thank you, Moritz. I think exactly like you described, the challenge of missing messages and emails and all this unstructured data, it can lead to miss on deal opportunities. This must resonate with a lot of people that are listening here. From ideation to deployment of a live solution in a bank, for such a solution, there are various challenges that must be tackled. Our next speaker, Mark Westgate, he's an implementation expert and will be able to share with us on those challenges that he has encountered during the actual implementation process. A quick introduction, Mark has more than 6 years of experience in investment banking and financial services, and he is leading the global digital and data transformation initiatives at Synechron. Being an official implementation partner for Squirro Solutions, Synechron has also led the implementation of this particular solution at our common customer, Standard Chartered. With Mark's experience from these and other projects, Mark is also Synechron's internal innovation team that works on the developing accelerator concepts by applying emerging technologies to optimize and enhance our clients' capabilities and service offerings. Let us hear more about Mark's learning from his project next. Mark, please.
Thank you, Vanessa. Hey, Moritz. Hey, Andre. Good to see you guys again. So before I go through the sort of the overall project from multiple different angles, so I'll just give a bit of a recap in terms of what we do as an implementation partner with the likes of Squirro and also with Refinitiv itself. So as I mentioned, we focus on 3 pillars as an offering from Synechron. So we focus on digital, business consulting, and technology delivery, right? And what we do is we essentially marry those to have a sort of a managed capacity end-to-end service offering to our clients. So we can help sort of on the product vision, the consulting, the strategy, and the project management. Also on the user personas, designs, et cetera, and then also from the technology side, the implementations, the integrations, the building of the microservices, and actually putting the solution and all the piping together to make it successful within the bank. This has been a very interesting journey. Moritz and both Andre will vouch for that. It's been a lengthy and good journey and fun, rocky roller coaster, and I'll walk you guys through some of the end-to-end delivery for this particular project. So first of all, give us a bit of context in terms of, I'm sure everyone can see my screen, right? So in terms of the project itself, so initially this was a project or a challenge set by the CCIB business, so the corporate, commercial and institutional banking business at Standard Chartered. So the MT of that respective business sent out a challenge to the wider bank saying, okay, we have so much information on our clients, both internally and externally. How can we utilize that information to ultimately have better conversations with our clients and identify new revenue streams? So many different teams came up with ideas and solutions of how to solve that particular problem statement. And there was 3 winning teams which went through a Dragon's Den along with SC Ventures, which is the innovation arm at Standard Chartered. And they identified that they wanted to utilize unstructured information. Unstructured information being call reports, news, research reports, articles, PDFs, that sort of information, and apply intelligence, augmented intelligence, AI on top of it to identify signals. And obviously with Squirro's proven track record and extremely powerful NLP technology, the bank decided, right, we want to utilize Squirro. They've already successfully done a couple of POCs with the bank, and it was ultimately the best decision for them and for us and for everyone moving forward on this project. So in terms of the scope of the overall project itself, so we were asked to define or build a minimum viable product, which ultimately could then be turned into an enterprise solution if we were able to prove the value. Okay, so I'll walk you through sort of the journey that we went on in the next slide, but I'll give you first of all just a bit of a scoping session at the moment. So we wanted to build a cross-functional platform, so it wasn't just specifically for the relationship managers. We could also look at the industry bankers and also the corporate finance world, and also look at FM sales and TB sales as well. So we wanted to make it a cross-functional platform that anybody could use, and obviously as much information as we can get into the platform, the better it would be. Obviously, with this being an MVP, we were asked to deliver it within 6 months, and I'll walk you through that shortly. But we needed to make sure that we essentially controlled the scope and we didn't overboard, and make sure that we're able to deliver a viable solution in the time frame that we had. So obviously with the partnerships with Refinitiv, it was a clear choice that we were going to be moving forward with their particular machine readable news solution, and also with their earnings call transcripts or event transcripts product as well. Those two have proven to be very valuable to our users. And again, I'll talk about that sort of as we go towards the end of this presentation as well. So that was the external piece of information that we're bringing in. Internal side, we wanted to look at call reports, research, and emails. Right, this is the RMs in sales in the front line essentially have so much noise and so much information, and there's always so much useful, actionable content within those call reports and within those research articles and within those emails, and people don't have time to essentially go through them and scan them. So what Squirro is doing is ultimately applying intelligence on top of that information and exposing it out to the users. And we'll walk through that as well shortly. In terms of the delivery scope, we looked at 4 different locations for this particular use case. Now, the reason for that being is that we were working very closely with our RMs in sales, and those individuals were based in those respective locations, and we made sure that we co-created this solution with them. We wanted to make sure that we contained it and not open it up to the 6,000 RMs that the bank has, and we kept it between 105 nominated frontline staff, just to make sure that we constantly got the validation and got the feedback that we required before we opened it up into to the wider audience. And then obviously with them, with that 105, we took their clients and then leveraged on identifying signals and opportunities for them. So what are the overall key platform functionalities? So obviously we're bringing in the information into one place. The bank hadn't had that. They didn't have that capability yet. So what we've done is we brought both internal and external information into one place, one platform. They're then able to get all the information around their client in one place. As we've already discussed many times, we identify utilizing models. We identify signals like plan to expand, as Moritz was mentioning, as M&A, as divestment, which then enable the RMs and sales to ultimately act upon. Obviously, NLP is a key thing there, and obviously, as Moritz was mentioning, right, creating that base layer of injecting all the data into one place, you can enable that cognitive search, right, sort of a Google search, which enables you to scan through all the information around your clients. I think one other piece we looked at is that specifically for SCB, they're across so many different markets, very niche markets as well, emerging markets, and then truly global banks. So what they also wanted to do is utilize a platform where they could then identify the particular coverage or product or industry specialists globally. What we found when we were doing our discovery phase is that a number of the individuals, it's hard to identify who the particular specialists are globally. So we wanted to also bring in that functionality as well. So that's generally putting together the scope of the project itself. In terms of the journey, we obviously worked with Squirro and Refinitiv to do a sort of an end-to-end product delivery from whiteboarding through to an actual solution within 6 months, right? And there's a number of different steps, and as I'm sure most people are obviously aware of the different steps that you have to go through in order to get that end-to-end product delivery. So first of all, we kicked off with the workshops. We made sure that we were obviously co-creating with the RMs and sales, particularly in SEBs. A lot of the stuff is run from Singapore, so we wanted to make sure that we had a global reach and that they were getting impact from the other locations as well. We did obviously first of all the sort of the solution designing, really understanding the technology solution, the architecture, how all the piping is going to work when we implement, when we bring in Squirro into the bank. We also made sure that we wanted to align on the designs and the usability of the product to make sure that the RMs and sales were happy and it was something that they were going to ultimately adopt and use within the bank. So we obviously brought in Squirro. I helped obviously along with SEB to bring the new capability into the bank. That in itself is a lengthy process, but we managed to fight our way through with multiple different parties to get them into the bank. And once we got them in, it was very smooth and quick sailing, to be honest with you. So once we actually had the application into the infrastructure on AWS, and I'll talk about that challenge in itself shortly. But once we actually had the application or the software into the bank, it was then a smooth sailing, I'd say. Squirro has a lot of their pre-built adapters, particularly for their external providers with Refinitiv and the likes. It's able to quickly connect and start showing value from a solution relatively quickly. So that was a good thing, as well as using a vendor partner with this particular area. So as you can see from this particular slide, 6 months. The key thing which I will highlight, as you can probably see on the right there, the go live effectively for this solution ended up being this year, July, and I'll walk you through why that happened shortly as well. But we did a lot of commercialization and touch points with the business to make sure that this was a solution which could be viable and would be adopted by the end users. As I mentioned at the start, right, this was initially kicked off as a ventures initiative. So it wasn't brought in by the business at the start. We had to essentially work over that 6-month period to make sure that we could embed it into the business and that they would then utilize it moving forward into the future, which fortunately they have, as it's been an interesting and fun couple of recent months as well. So with regards to some of the challenges that we've faced. So I'll give a quick overview across a number of these. So I guess, well, first of all, we'll start with the local country compliance and data owner requirements, right? As everyone's aware, SEB again is in multiple markets, and in order to roll out a solution globally, you need to get particular approvals across every country that you go to, because they all have their own regulations, they all have their own requirements. And also, as I'm not sure if I mentioned it there on the previous slide, is this was one of the first solutions that we were bringing onto the cloud at the bank, right? So the bank's obviously on this huge digital transformation cloud first adoption strategy. And we were actually the first app for CCIB to go live on AWS in Hong Kong itself. So by putting the software onto the cloud, a number of different new compliance requirements came in, which for everyone, I've been in the bank for 2 years now, which everyone it was new, it was fresh, and we needed to quickly understand, okay, what was the requirements that we needed. So that was one of the key challenges and a big learning for all of us, which we're now able to utilize on our more recent rollouts, as well as we've increased our country scope. As everyone aware, integrations into existing legacy platforms. Every bank has legacy tech, legacy piping, legacy infra. Integrating a new fintech software into the bank is a different mentality and a different, I guess, way of working. But obviously all the banks are moving in that direction to change their old tech stacks, and this was obviously one of the ways that we can speed up that process as well, to make sure that we can integrate successfully and also provide a more strategic technology delivery capability as well. Similarly, that's I think a duplicate there. We've got Squirro app integration, but I can say it's doubly challenging then. With regards to that bottom right item there, entitlements and functional access profiles. So as I'm sure everyone is aware, there's obviously a huge amount of compliance constraints around what data you're allowed to see and who should be entitled to see the particular data. Right. So what we're doing is we're connecting to the CRM platform within the bank, and we're pulling that client information into Squirro, or the call report information into Squirro, and then pushing it out to the respective users. So we needed to make sure that ultimately only those users who are allowed to see that information could see that information. You can't get into an area where we're pushing out information on client X to RM who looks after client Y, right? That just is not a feasible thing, and we need to make sure that we adopted the correct entitlements model within the app, and that was a very important aspect of this whole thing. Otherwise, the solution is not going to work itself. One of the other key aspects is obviously the integration with Refinitiv. Luckily, as we mentioned, they have a already inbuilt connector, and what we're doing is essentially we are then mapping the Refinitiv information or the IDs to our client IDs, right? So we need to make sure that that intelligence is there, and so that we make sure that we show the correct information for the correct clients for our users, right? If that mapping is not there correctly, then our RM could have news on client X, which is actually relevant to client Y, right? So we need to make sure that that mapping is in sync from Refinitiv's IDs to our SCB or internal IDs, right? That's the only way that we were able to expose out the information to our users. A couple of other things. So I'll club cloud readiness and cybersecurity requirements together. So with this being a new application going on, new software going on the cloud, opening up the network for the first time, opening up AWS for the first time in Hong Kong, extremely daunting, lengthy process. The bank has now extremely improved on that overall process, but as we were the first ones, it was a learning curve for all of us. So opening up the networks, whitelisting IPs, setting up the infra, setting up all the different environments, making sure the security and cyber security specs were all intact for the particular solution was an interesting and fun yet challenging ride for all of us. And one thing I will mention, which is what I was alluding to earlier, why we had a little bit of a delay, is that we originally were going with a private cloud provider, and we got the solution ready. We were about to push to production. Moritz is very much aware of this. We then got to January in the new year, and the private cloud provider unfortunately went bust. So we had to basically migrate all of our technology stack into AWS, which is the bank's provider, or the main provider at that time. So we had to migrate everything from our existing private cloud into the AWS public cloud, which again meant going through all those approvals and all those different security requirements again, and getting all the country compliance approvals again. So big challenge. We overcome it. We finally got there. We went live, and I'll talk to you about some of the great testimonials that we've had from that in itself as well. But yeah, fun and interesting journey. So we went live with the app in July this year. So we've been rolling out, as I mentioned, with a subset or a selection of RMs and sales. And ultimately what we've been doing is trying to get as much feedback from them as possible as to how we can make this solution more scalable, more interesting, and then ultimately, as we open it up to an enterprise-wide solution for the RMs and frontline, how we can make it better over time, right? What additionally do they want? What product enhancements do they want? What new data do they want? How can they improve the functionalities on the platform itself as well? So we've been rolling out essentially training at the moment, and we've had, as you can see from the slide here, a number of product enhancements, whether it be integrating a new chatbot, whether it be being able to collaborate on the platform itself, being able to share information, all that sort of the interesting stuff has been coming up. In terms of the data requests, obviously RMs have their day-to-day specific information that they do. They have Google Alerts, they have their industry articles that they go to. So they've asked us to see if we can start integrating that as well. And that obviously gives them a coverage of what they're familiar with as well. And interesting enough, and the fun thing, I guess, out of this is that we've been able to add value to the business already, right? So within just building an MVP, just taking in a select few data sources, we've been able to utilize Refinitiv's information to identify opportunities that have resulted in either new business or the RMs and sales pitching different solutions to clients. So that's super interesting, right? We've been able to take raw information, apply intelligence on top of it, and then actually action on that content to then have a conversation with their clients, and then be able to pitch different solutions. So it's a very I guess rewarding fact that we've gone through all this journey, then be able to get to the stage where we're actually providing value to the business is certainly nice to see and nice to be a part of. As you can see, I've also left some quotes from some very senior people at the bank as well who have been involved in this from the start. So yeah, I want to thank Andre and Moritz for their patience and for their intuitiveness on this as well to get this to where it is today. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you. Lots of challenges, but glad to hear that it's all paid off now with those new opportunities identified. We definitely look forward to where this is heading, and bringing much more value for the clients. Next, I'm very excited to welcome our guest speakers from Standard Chartered Bank to share more with us on their user experience. So thank you so much for joining us at this webinar. We have Wei-Ming Chen as well as Christoph Banerjee from Standard Chartered with us. So here is a short introduction to both of our speakers. Wei-Ming, he is a seasoned banking professional with more than 20 years experience spanning global banking. He has led global teams in finance, risk, and technology and operations, mainly in strategic change initiatives. Wei-Ming is part of SC Ventures and was part of the team that made this project possible. So welcome, Wei-Ming.
Thank you for having me, Vanessa.
And our next speaker from Standard Chartered Bank is Christoph Banerjee. Christoph is the head of data and analytics enablement team at Standard Chartered Bank. He leads the data science initiatives for corporate and institutional banking domain. Christoph has been in the banking industry for over 2 decades, and his expertise in data science covers consumer banking, small and medium enterprises, and now corporate and institutional banking. During his career, Christoph has worked across 4 different markets, and he's passionate about delivering values by monetizing data and constantly striving to innovate. Welcome, Christoph.
Thank you so much, Vanessa, for the introduction.
Thank you both for being here. So first of all, we have 2 questions directed at Wei-Ming. The first question is, who initiated this idea for the project, and how did SC Ventures help the bank to make the project possible?
Right. First of all, very pleased to be here. Well, the project that we are reviewing right now with Squirro basically is the second bite of the cherry. About 2.5, 3 years ago, when we were starting to really explore big data analytics, we were quite conscious about the fact that banking in general does not or do not tap sufficiently into the external data sets, into the external data ecosystem. And we wanted to really look at how do we actually better consume and integrate external data with internal data. And with the huge amount of data available externally, unstructured data is a big challenge for banks. We are very good at integrating, lines and rows of data that has been processed by the bank system, but less so when we are looking at external research information, external social media data, etc. So Squirro was one of the first ones that was identified by the chief architect at that moment. working with SC Ventures or the predecessor of SC Ventures to really start looking at how might we bring all this unstructured and structured data, internal and external data together, and see whether we could really find insights that were monetizable, if you like, that would help us to make better decisions. So with that first experiment, we were, I think, relatively successful with this limited use case. But because at that time we were not clear enough in terms of the value we wanted to create, the actual problem we're trying to solve. So this project actually is a second bite of the cherry, as I said. SC Venture runs an entrepreneur platform. What does this do? We create a platform and post certain problem statements out there to leverage 87,000 staff of SC Venture of Standard Chartered Bank to pitch their ideas on how might they solve these problems. So therefore, it's no longer just a small team of people in a lab trying to do funky, interesting things. It is about trying to solve real problems that matters to the rest of the business and matters to clients. And we leverage 87,000 staff. So there were 3 teams that qualified as finalists. And when we looked at all their propositions, essentially they were looking at how might we create value out of data that could better serve clients, that could better support our relationship managers and our businesses. And we basically, at the end of the day, through the incubation process, we finally selected these 3 teams, put them together to work, because each one of them brought different parts of the equation on how we might solve this. So in other words, SC Ventures basically is a platform to be able to bring solution providers like our fintech partners with our business stakeholders together, create the right environment and platform for them to be able to create different value. In this case, what was really exciting was Squirro, in partnership with a few other products that we have, were able to not only bring about and aggregate the unstructured and structured data together, they were able to identify very interesting insights that tells us a lot more about our clients, and potentially also to be able to find themes around that to create actionable insights that can better serve our clients. A long answer to your question. My apologies.
Yes, and you not only answered my question, you also answered the next question I wanted to ask. That is, what is the role of SC Venture in bringing new technology into the bank? With that, I have a very quick follow-up question to ask. So what do you think is one of the major hurdles that you have to overcome to bring new technology such as Squirrel into the bank and get the business buy-in?
Yeah, I think what is really important is creating real value. Exploring interesting technology does not, at the end of the day, pay the bills for the fintechs, nor does it actually significantly leverage the amount of talent, the wonderful talent that they have, and the technology they can bring to the table to really be sustainable. So what we want to do really is be that platform to bring real problem statements with sponsorship, and then great technology companies, startups, etc., like Squirro, bring them together and then identify very different ways of actually solving these legacy banking challenges. But what is more important is going beyond digitizing and automating small parts of the value chain, and instead redesigning operating models and redesigning business and banking models built around these fintech solutions. In our mind, that is the conviction we have that can fundamentally change banking, with fintechs playing a big role in it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Wei Ming.
You're welcome.
Now let's hear from Christoph, who is the internal product owner, on his major learning of this project. So Christoph, first questions is, well, before Mark just made a lot of comments about various challenges that, the implementation part has encountered for this project. He mentioned technical challenges and compliance requirements in various different countries, integration with existing legacy systems, entitlements, cloud readiness, etc. So I mean, any one of this is very challenging, and not to mention, you have to conquer all of this to bring this life. So I want to ask, as the project owner, what do you think was the biggest challenge?
Look, I think this project is intended to really solve for a relatively new and a complex domain in advanced analytics, right? So we had to go through our share of learning as part of the project. I mean, everything that you mentioned as a challenge, for me, I would position that as an enabler that we had to go through if we had to make this a success. So it is a journey that we have to go through. I mean, if we have not explored that territory, we really need to go through that process. You need to understand, in SCB, our footprint is very unique, and we do want to leverage on our network. But one thing that we absolutely are very conscious about is any data and regulatory requirement which comes from a local regulator or a central regulator is non-negotiable for that. So that has to take its own time, and that's a one-time effort and then ongoing maintenance, but that we had to go through. Mm-hmm. The way I would look at the problem statement and the challenge was really identifying the right partners to go with it. We had identified a business problem that we wanted to solve, and the business problem has huge potential because we are looking to really understand the power of unstructured data. The first thing that we wanted to really get to is who is the best data partner who can give us a very comprehensive set of external data available from a bank's perspective, rather than having to go to multiple places. We still have to go to multiple sources, but at least a partner who can give us a comprehensive data source. So that was potentially the first big challenge that we had to overcome. The second was actually identifying the partner in terms of AI engine or the engine which can actually solve that particular problem. Everything else for me is really an enabler which we need to go along the way and solve for it as part of the process. That's a journey. I mean, I'm not really concerned about that. That has to go through. Yes, cloud. We need to go through the processes to get this onto the cloud. Yes, we need to go through the regulatory compliance. But that's part of the journey. The important thing is to get the right partnerships to really create the solution and constantly enhance or improve the solution. I think that's where this process. This is not a one-time solution. This is only going to improve and get enhanced as we go through the next couple of years. I mean, it's only going to get better. And that partnership that's why so much more critical for us.
Like you said, when you have the right partners, all of the other challenges, they would just they will be solved along the way. I absolutely agree with that. So the next question that we have for you is, what do you think are some of the challenges in terms of bringing revenue generating AI solutions to global banking from a business and strategic point of view?
Okay, I think first step is the opportunities that AI and data analytics driven insights can provide to a business is significant. And in SCB, we are constantly striving to innovate and embed those best practices as part of our client engagement process. I think that is something that we are striving towards. As we go through this journey, as we go through this process and drive adoption at scale for our frontline teams and clients, one of the aspects which I would want to highlight would be personalization of insights, contextualization and personalization of insights. I mean, it's one thing to actually come up with the insight based on one portion of information, but it is about how do we make that actionable and how do we make that realistic from a client perspective? How do we really get all the other associated information about our client in one single place so that when we are giving an insight about to a client, it is holistic and it's actionable and something which our frontline can confidently take it to the clients for an engagement process. So I think that is one of the key things that I see we are working on and we need to continue working on. That is personalization and contextualization. And one important aspect in terms of actually delivering that would be a constant feedback process or learning from what we hear from the ground. And that flexibility to be there as part of the solution, where any feedback which comes from the ground is incorporated as part of the next insight which comes in. And that is something which will make a big difference in this overall solution. So that I think would be a big driver for success in this particular project.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, you talk about contextualization and personalization of data and bringing this actionable insights to the bankers. And that is something that this project, as we know, is striving to achieve. And one way to do it is by bringing the internal data and external data together. Can you share with us your opinion? What are some of the benefits of bringing the two together?
Right. So look, forget the sources of data for a moment. I think for us, the most important thing for us, client is at the center of everything that we do, right? And our entire bank strategy is driven by client being by being client-centric. I mean, we're sort of focusing from that, and our data strategy cannot be any different from that. For us to be effective, we need to, obviously, internal data has its own benefits. I mean, we do understand the engagement that we have with the client within the bank, but an external data element provides us what is the overall opportunity available probably outside the bank. And the integration of these two is really that sweet spot where we are able to get a holistic view about our client, and that becomes a foundational layer for any AI engine to become effective. I mean, the AI engine would be as effective as the underlying data that we provide to the engine. And that's where a combination of internal data source, which has all the respective behaviors that we understand for the client within the bank, and the external data sources only provides that holistic platform for the AI engines to become successful.
So a little bit further about the data that we're talking about, right? We talked about external data and internal data. We are talking about mostly unstructured data over here. So in your experience, how are unstructured data analytics different from structured data analytics, and how are they being used in very different ways? Can you share about that?
Good question. But what I would probably highlight is, again, we'll take a step back and say the intent of doing AI does not vary whether it's unstructured data or structured data. It's about generating value from data, and generating value for our frontline, for our clients. So it is about generating value based on data. I think so. The intent, be it unstructured data or structured data, doesn't really change. The way it gets delivered obviously is different. I mean, with a structured data, I mean, we do a lot of traditional analytics related outputs or insights, which ranging from inferential statistics all the way to neural networks. It could be any of those stuff running on a structured data, which would give us time series analytics, which would give us predictive models and all of that stuff, right? So that's something which has been pretty established. Obviously, we are constantly enhancing and improving on those things, but it is an established process, not in just our industry, across multiple industries. Unstructured data is relatively new from at least our industry perspective, and what we are trying to do here from an unstructured perspective is to really derive or define the insights which come out from that humongous amount of information which is available in the external world. And I think that pulling up the right insights at the right time is the most important thing. Where I see it actually coming together, and the most effective way of doing it is when both of these start, the input or the output of one unstructured data starts going into an input into the final AI engine, where both of these attributes start getting merged as part of the platform. That is when it will become the most effective tool. So, I mean, an insight coming from a research paper, for example, becomes part of input into a predictive model. So those are the kind of things where unstructured data analytics can only enhance the overall analytics domain, and that's where the sweet spot is. That's where it becomes really powerful.
Just maybe adding a little bit to that, Vanessa, and one of the interesting use cases that in fact Gustav and I also partnered on previously, just by way of example, and that was particularly one of those early proof of concepts where we were trying to bring in news fresh off news that were coming in on the impact of the flood, potentially impacting the manufacturing plants of some of our major clients, and therefore potentially impacting the supply chain, for example. That was one very good example where we were bringing in unstructured information real time, and then basically assessing the impact of that with the supply chain information that we already have, that has been brought into the bank previously.
Thank you for sharing that, and also thank you, Gustav, for that answer. Yes, I think we can look forward to this project blossoming into something even bigger and even more future shaping, with both internal, external, and structured and unstructured data. My next question is on how about the tool adoption by the users. What kind of impact do you see this tool has on the day-to-day life of global bankers in SCB? As we know, the project has gone live for about a couple of months right now. Gustav?
Right. I would say we are still at a very early stage of commercialization, socializing this entire platform with the frontline teams. We are doing that, and we are getting really good feedback. There is a dedicated team which is working on that, and the kind of feedback that is coming back from the team is encouraging. It also just reestablishes the belief that we had that there is merit and value in really striving to get these insights from unstructured data out to the frontline teams. So I think that process has been established, but it will take us some more time to really change the way everybody works. And it also it is not just about changing a way our team works, but it's also about how do we constantly enhance or improve the output or the system itself, so that it becomes more, like I said, contextual and personalized. I think that would have to go hand in hand with higher adoption rates.
Yes, I'm also taking notes over here. You're sharing very valuable feedbacks for us to improve our solution. Thank you. I have one last question. What do you think is a key differentiator of our solution? And what are some key functionalities that it's bringing to a bank like SCB?
Right. So look, Squirro's AI engine has been a good addition to our existing set of AI and ML platforms and tools that we have in the bank. So it has been a really good addition. It solves for a capability which is niche so far. I mean, it's something which it solves as a capability, and it's not necessarily a product solution, and which is a very important nuance when I say that. So it brings together a very powerful capability into the bank, and it also then gives us a flexibility to apply that capability across various domains. And that, I think, is a good sort of blend between procuring a capability and being able to create a solution of our own, depending on the problem statements that we in the bank understand. I think the other key thing which I see, which I'm quite excited and I'm looking forward to, is as part of your latest release, you guys are going live with a decision science studio, and that's something which which would help our in-house citizen data scientists to really leverage the system even better. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that's really how I would sort of position Squirro within our other tools that we have in the organization.
Thank you. We are also very appreciative of the opportunity of working together with you guys.
Maybe if I may just add one last point on the last question, and how might it really differentiate us? I think tools like Gustav said, Squirro in combination with the other tools is going to really improve our analytics capability internally within the bank. What will differentiate us is if we start providing these insights to clients as well and make a difference to their business. And that value-added service given to the clients, I think it's gonna really differentiate us.
Thank you. Thank you for all the answers and all the insights shared with our audience. Well, that brings us to the end of this Q&A session. I hope that very soon this COVID situation will get better, and then we can soon be probably going back to life as usual and get together for a little celebration for this project going live. Thank you
Look
so
forward
much.
to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We are approaching the end of today's webinar. Before we say goodbye to everyone, I would like to just thank again to all of our speakers. Andre, thank you for sharing on data. And thank you, Moritz, for that very intriguing demonstration of the augmented banking application. Thank you, Mark, for sharing that all the challenges that you guys have encountered implementing such solution. That was definitely very, very informative. And I believe a lot of our audience who are listening in would find that part very informative. Also, our users from the Standard Chartered Bank, thank you for sharing your experience. I hope that our team have answered all of your questions well. If you have further questions, I would love to hear from you guys. Not just questions about the solution and the session, what other topics you would like to hear more, please get in touch and write to us. Also, if you wonder how can such a solution be applied in your specific case, I welcome to get in touch so that we can arrange a specific session to have an assessment for your institution. Again, that's the end of today's session. I look forward to seeing you guys in our next webinar and have a good Thursday. Thank you.